Take a look at this tweet from Political Polls. You want to read that, Alex Stein?
New Jersey general election is giving Trump an advantage by 1 point. 41% Trump, 40% Joe Biden.
This is either his coefficient. They've done a lot of polls. They're cited widely. This may be, it's got to be either the worst polling organization known to man to put Trump up in New Jersey. Perhaps it is just a blip on the radar. But if this is an accident, this is like just a polling error, Trump shouldn't be anywhere near Biden. New Jersey's like D plus 20 something.
Well, how many people went to his New Jersey rally? Wasn't it like 100?
That's South Jersey. And it was, they estimate like 100,000. So even if this is in the margin of error, that is wild. And now it may be their poll is spot on. Trump is winning in New Jersey.
There were Gen Z kids at that rally in New Jersey. Did you see that that younger kid, the white kid that went viral? He's talking about, I can't repeat it here, it's YouTube, but young people are showing up even in New Jersey.
Young people are showing up. I think they're actually hungry for the truth. I will say, like this past semester, traveling with Charlie Kirk and Turning Point at our Change My Mind events and all of our speaking events, we've had the longest lines that I've ever seen being involved in politics in the last 3 years. And I genuinely see our generation waking up and they're sick and tired of being lied to by the regime and constantly being on their phones. But the thing is, they're going to college and still being indoctrinated every single day that they have to actually seek out the truth, or it's going to take people like us going to those campuses and changing their minds. But I do see it. I do think that there is a large amount of our generation that is going to go to the polls because they are sick of it.
Sick of is there something specific?
Just the left. I mean,
is it always social issues or is it some of economic? Sometimes I wonder if there are young people who are just like, how am I supposed to become an adult right now?
So I did ask, what is the biggest issue facing our generation today? And the number 2 answers I got were political division, and it actually was inflation. It was, I am concerned that I'm not going to be able to afford to buy a house. I have no savings. I can't get a job because the job market right now in America is horrible for current graduates. They can't seem to find jobs. And I know it's been viral on TikTok lately of people are applying to hundreds of jobs and can't even land a couple of interviews to even get a job. So I do think, like, for the large amount, immigration for Gen Z, I wouldn't say is a huge issue because I think they see the social side of immigration more than millennials and Gen Xers. But for Gen Z, I will say the inflation is definitely hitting their bank accounts more than they thought.
Anecdotal, but I got kids, lots of kids.
Many kids.
So many children. Oldest is in high school. When I was a kid growing up, you were, by the time you were a junior, you always had a car. Like, you had a license, you had a car.
Yeah.
The car lot is empty at the high school. These kids aren't getting cars, right? And that used to be a thing. You grow up, you hit 17, 18, you work at a job for a couple months, your parents kind of pitch in, meet you halfway, you get a vehicle. These kids don't have cars.
Well, I'm not trying to talk about me, but getting a car is like the most important thing. I got a hardship license. My dad and I, I got my license at 15, and he lied and said he had a bunch of health problems, and I had to drive him to the hospital at any moment. I hope we don't get in trouble for that. But my point is, that is crazy how much we've changed in a short time. If that was the most important thing in my life, was like getting a car, driving. And now the fact that kids don't want to do that, that's very...
I don't think they can afford it. I think it's that. I think they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the car, it's then the gas and the maintenance.
Oh, but cars have gotten way expensive.
We're shopping for a car for my oldest.
You can get a cheap beater car. Like, my first car was a $700 Ford Explorer.
I mean, car insurance...
And it broke down, like, all the time.
Car insurance is up, like, 25%. I mean, it is wild. So you're saying you're shopping for a car for your oldest?
We're shopping car for oldest, and we want something that has, it's reliable, lower mileage, something that'll last through college or whatever. But we're talking like $12,000, $13,000 for a used car with 50+ thousand miles on it.
My first car was a hatchback Mazda 323, and I've been trying to find one, but they're just gone. Just 1989. It was 1989 Mazda 323, and it was like $800, $900, and it broke down all the time, and then it just stopped working after a little while. But that's your first car,
Mixing cars builds character.
It had a cassette player in it, and I remember I was 18 and I was driving on the highway, and it's super small. You can probably fit 3 people in there comfortably and 4 people in there uncomfortably, and it's just this tiny thing, but it was mine.
Yeah, I think that I mean, it's sort of an American thing because we are a more driving culture than other countries, but like getting your license and being able to go and being able to either go to a job or your friend's house or things that you're interested in, like it is a big goal for a lot of teenagers. I had a lot of friends who, when we were in high school, their grandparents passed and they inherited their car, and it was a way to just get started. And it's not like it's super cool, but it's also like allowed them to begin to do all kinds of things, pursuing interests, whether it's professional or just on the side, art, whatever it is. And the fact that teenagers are already hitting this barrier. I can't imagine being a new graduate or someone who's coming out of the trades being like, I would like to buy a home. I would like to start a family. I would like to start saving for a cool trip, and just feeling like you could never do it. That sort of hopelessness is one of the things that I think the economic issues has a severe impact on the younger generations. When you're older and you've had some savings, you go through a hardship, like it's tough, you don't like it, you're stressed, but being able to be like, anything I want right now, I can literally not achieve because I can't afford it. It's devastating.
People just starting cat families. I'm not even joking. Like, it's like these young people are like, I can't afford anything, and they get a cat.
Yep.
I
Bloomberg had
can't
it
hate on that, but what's really
I'm not
bad-
hating on cats are great. I'm just saying, like, they should be having babies. But there's like,
They're
where
not.
do you put the babies if you don't have a house?
And they can't afford a house
Right.
anymore. I mean, the median price change from 2020 just to 2024. I mean, what you used to be able to afford with a $60,000 salary, you need now double that. And the kids don't have savings. Like me, myself, I'd love to buy a house right now. And I think that's why our marriage rates have dipped and why the birth rate has dipped, is also because people are so concerned about affording it. That's why women continue to work and slave away in the corporate world. Is they're like, how am I going to afford it?
Or do OnlyFans now. Every girl's doing an OnlyFans to make money, which is like another part of our society why it's like degrading so much, because the girl's like, I don't know how to get a job. Okay, well, I can show my boobs and make, $5,000 a month or whatever it is.
But not everyone
And
has
we
good
have-
boobs.
Yeah, that's true.
You
But
know?
I don't know if you even have
Not every
to.
guy
will
wants
say-
that. You know what I mean?
I saw a story of a girl who tried OnlyFans and she ended up losing money because nobody was actually subscribing to her, and she was sold this false reality
Yeah.
by the 1%ers saying, go on OnlyFans, you'll make a ton of money, it's worth it. And she ended up selling just her body to these men and not actually being able to afford a living, and now she's like just
I think
working
it's-
a desk job.
I think it's China.
China.
I know.
Yeah, I think
China.
if I was working in cyber command of the U.S., I'd be like, we want to get as many of our adversaries' women quitting their jobs and being degenerates, because it will depress their economy, it will slow growth, and it will distract and steal resources from men. The women producing sexual content will not be adding anything substantive to the economy. So that means you are shifting production towards something that can't benefit them in the long run, and it will build bad behaviors. It will depress their fertility rates. It is the best psychological attack on a nation.
You're exactly right, because the fentanyl crisis is coming straight from China.
Imagine if every woman on OnlyFans instead was making birdhouses, right? Just like, instead they just made imagine if there was an app called Only Birds, and it's like, oh man, you can make $10,000 a month with birdhouses. Hey, guess what? At the end of that month, there's a bunch of birdhouses, and that's something functional people can use. But at the end of that month, that porn content they made is nothing. It's literal nothing. Yeah. So what's happening is the women on OnlyFans, they take money from men. They go to the grocery store and they buy milk, bread, and eggs, right? It's more than that, but just simply put, where is the labor being produced to replace the products being extracted from the economy? The way an economy should work, basically, if you go back in time, is I'm going to grow wheat, and then I'm going to trade that wheat to a baker in exchange for finished baked products. And it's the synergy between what I make and what he makes, and then that's how you get an economy. One guy makes milk, one guy makes wheat, one guy bakes it, and we all trade with each other. If some dude shows up and he starts just shaking his butt and everyone starts giving him money, then he buys all the baker's goods, all the farmed goods. Then there's no trade between them for the food they need. Then the guy who grows wheat and says, I don't have enough money to buy the wheat. I'm saying, I think, not necessarily China, but it would be very easy for China or Iran or Russia to subscribe to OnlyFans intentionally to get these women to quit their jobs. What was that? You're a cop, you're a nurse, do porn instead. After a month of making a bunch of money, they go, oh man, I'm gonna do this instead. And then you leave. There are tons of women who are like, I got fired from my job once they found out I did OnlyFans. And now they're no longer producing anything valuable for an economy.
I think it's also like the TikTok brain rot. In addition to that, it's like, who's to say that Russia, China aren't manipulating the news streams to the next generation, causing them to think that, being an influencer is the next new big job. So in addition to porn, you also have these people with no real education or talent who are able to make a quote unquote living off the internet, but I don't think it's actually sustainable. And I think it's another way to just psychologically cripple the American people.
Yeah. And I think a lot of OnlyFans / influencer culture. I know they're technically different. It feeds on a level of like materialism and insecurity that a lot of young people, but definitely I think a lot of young Americans have. You know, it looks cool. They're always on vacation. They have flashy things. This OnlyFans girl bought her crazy car. Like this influencer is, you know, going to meet cool celebrities or whatever it is. Like it's aspirational content, but not in a way that cultivates strong values. It's aspirational in that it plagues on our deep insecurities that we don't have the cool thing, or we don't have enough, or we don't get to live this luxurious lifestyle. And I think that's sad.
It's idolizing oneself instead of something greater than yourself. And I think that plays into like the Gen Z election. That's why they're so attached to the left, is because that's what they're propagating on the left, is instead of, hey, trust in other people and, you know, reject the government. They're so used to getting the handouts and they're used to like talking to the big government. And I think that's a problem, is because they're just used to being handed everything, and it's the social issues, and they trust the Democratic Party instead of actually seeking up towards something bigger than themselves.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe and we'll see you all there.